from when they got up in the morning to when they went to bed at night, what did they do? And that's what this is attempting to show, the first film. Just exactly what the boys did from when they got up in the morning to when they went to bed at night. Now these are the Mt Margaret Hills, and that's a bush camp you can see in front. That's the boys' home with our home in the foreground. That's our Mt Margaret ladies you can hear singing in the background. Stuart just going in to wake the boys up in the morning and giving them a call. This is the intermediate boys' room that you're looking at now. She's calling them, wake awake boys, time to get up. Rise and shine. I think that was Dave making that now. Shepherd, I think, making that baby. I'm not sure. That's Dave in front of the mirror there. Dave Gable, Alan Bunny and Martin Watson in the senior boys' room. Every day started with prayers. My husband, Stuart Miller, having prayers with them. Before breakfast there were jobs to do. Everyone had a job except all the little fellows. We had about 18 little kids, preschoolers, and they didn't get jobs. That's Ron Smith sweeping the senior boys' room. Trevor Shaw sweeping down the drains, all the dust from those dust storms, and Hudson Westlake wiping down the locker. Ross Bilson lighting the hot water system, the heater. We put in this hot water system, but that's Lenny Graham sweeping down the park. We put in this hot water system, but it was useless because we couldn't get the water up there. That's down at the wood yard, one of the senior boys chopping, and the little boys carted it. There were teams. The senior boy chopped the wood, the little boys carted. That's Leo Mackay in the background, and Shepard Smith pulling the log off. John Gray and Les Cameron got their idea how to chop wood. There's Thomas Newbury in front, and then I think it's either Andrew Watson or Andrew Watson, I think, and then Mark Westlake. Up at the goat yard, this is Martin Watson up the goat yard too, and really they didn't do the goats and the wood on the same time. They just happened to be taken. This is Herbert Smith milking the goats. Some went up to the goat yard with a team under them to milk goats, and others went to the senior boys went down to the wood yard, and they chopped wood and the little ones carted, and the others stopped back in the home and did the home jobs. It's a kind of country, the goats turn into milk. Ernie on the left, Herbert leaning against the post, about to pass something to Bert Badger and Alan Bonny in the background, the school in the background, girls' home in the background, Ernie holding Heather, our daughter, Herbert against the post, James Harris in front, Bert Badger, Alan Bonny on the right. Boys' senior sitting room in the background. This is what we call the locker room, where they kept their clothes, and they're about to come in to get ready for school, and that's their school clothing ready to put on. Without the big boys, we just simply could not have managed. We had the senior boys were a wonderful help. They were in charge of a team of about 6 or 8, and then under them there was an intermediate boy who was in charge of the very little boy in the team, to give him special attention and mother him and look after him, find his clothes for him, do all the things that have to be done for a little boy. That's Martin Watson and Alan Bonney getting dressed there. This middle bit's, here they are. Just before school they brought me all their dirty clothes and I checked their clothes in, otherwise we lost them. That's Ron Smith on the right, Neil Smith and Raymond Watson on the left. The big boys sorted them getting dressed and ready and the beds being made, then I checked them all off, the teams off, and they were marked accordingly. John Gray on the right, Ian Campbell. There's Cameron. Looks like Zibbets. I think that was Russell Pollock, didn't have his shirt tucked in. Paul Campbell there on the left. After they got ready for school, some children went to the kindergarten. That's Windage on the right and Clary on the left. Amy O'Donoghue was a kindergarten teacher at that time. And later Amy O'Donoghue took some of my little boys too, to look after them. This is the school assembly. Ralph Schenkfield's on the right and May Miller was the other school teacher, and Don Milnes was the headmaster. This is Don Milnes here. What do they do when they get out to play? Well, they play marbles. Back into school again, May Miller's class. Out of school again. Now, we didn't get lunchtime because we couldn't get a film in the dining area because it was too dark, but we've got some of the play. What kind of things do they play? Well, they don't have lots of expensive toys, but they do play games they make up themselves, like these. That's Ron Smith coming along with a thing there. They used to make these rollers and fill the tins with dirt, put wire through them. And the dust there wasn't just like ordinary dirt, it's like talcum powder. Our bushwonga are wonderful if they keep so clean with that dust. This is Trevor Shaw helping Stuart, his young brother. Back in school again, Ralph Schenkfield's class. Ralph Schenkfield was also responsible for the woodwork classes. And while the boys were doing woodwork, what did the girls do? Well, they had needlework classes, and my sister Esther Milnes took the needlework classes. This is some of the work that little ones did. My husband's shirt said, "Someone point," and they all pointed. Muriel on the right, Gorgiga, Pat on the next, then Ina. This is Ruby Gray and Muriel. Thelma, Esther showing some of the work they did. This is Thelma Miller and Ruby Gray. Ruby Manning, sorry. These are some of the clothes they made. Esther's just showing how they learned to put plackets in, and they did fancy work, and that's Betty Harris, showing Betty Manning she was. Muriel and Thelma. Thelma's showing that Muriel made that dress herself, and Esther's showing that they learned how to do buttonholes. Now, another aspect of the school was sport, and this is part of the inter-school sports with Leonora and Golia. That's David Greenwood, leaning against the post. Martin Watson going over. Now back to the mission again. This is Saturday. Okay, that's what they do all week. This is Saturday. They just muck around. And this is two of them, Neil Smith and Ron Smith, painting the shed. As well as mess around, they could if they wanted to, do jobs. And for these jobs, they receive pay. And what they do with the pay, they spend it in the shop. They bought things like biscuits, soft drink, fruit, lollies, tins of sweet milk, condensed milk. That's Trevor Shaw. Dave Gable. Then on Saturday afternoons, we took them out into the bush on the red truck for a little picnic to go kangarooing or just mess around. But before we went for the outing, everyone had to help clean up the home, the yard and everything. Not for money, to earn money, but because it was their home and they were responsible for the cleanliness of their own home. That's Walter looking in the garden there, and Rick's just gone past. Stuart just come into the picture. Stuart Shaw and Rick Thorpe. That's Spang the dog. Paul Campbell. The little boys all playing with the dog. That's Ken on the left, Ken Smith. Rick Thorpe on the right, and I think it's Russell in the middle. This is Ross Bilson having a haircut. All the haircuts were done on Saturday too, and off for a picnic out into the bush. That's Ernie and Herbert stalking a kangaroo. But you know what happens when you take a camera? You catch nothing. That's what happened. We caught nothing. So we had to take a photo of something, so we took a photo of this. It's a lizard. But quite often we saw lots of kangaroos. Now that building in the background there is my parents' home, Mr. and Mrs. Rodshank. That is historic now because that has been bulldozed down and is no longer there. They pioneered the work there at Mt Margaret. That's Hector Lachlan just coming across the creek. When it rained, and that dry creek bed flooded. And it was a good time to go for picnics. So where did we go? We go to Cement Creek where we knew there's plenty of water. And there's all our boys trying to make big splashes, and Herbert made the biggest. But now it's time to go home. So, come on boys, home we go. Herbert crossing over. Ernie opening the gate. Then on Sundays, they could, all week long, any time they want, they could listen to records. They normally listen to records in the room, but because we couldn't take the movie in the room, we took it outside like this. On Sundays I went to Sunday school and church, and then in the afternoon went up to the bush camp to tell, that's John Gray there, to tell the bush people the message of salvation in their own language and to sing to them in their own language. And then at night time we had a sing-song service. But this bit here is really prayers. Every night that we had prayers with the children, the little ones had prayers with me and the big ones had prayers with Stuart. But because we couldn't take photos inside and we got into this very, very bright light on this one occasion, we combined the prayers. That's Ian Campbell singing, and Hudson Westlake on the left, John Gray on the right. Freddie MacArthur. Normally I would have prayers for the little ones and they would sing for me like this, and they'd tell me the stories of what they did all day long. But I'd get them to sing in front of each other, just good experience, that's all. To sing in front of each other and do things in front of each other. This Shepherd Smith doing a reading. On the wall, the verse says, "From a child thou hast known the holy scriptures which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith which is in Christ Jesus." John Gray on the right, Ian Campbell, Max Wright on the left. McNeil, it's all gone. Shepherd Smith here now. My husband Stuart closing in prayer. Normally they prayed themselves, but on this occasion Stuart prayed just for the photo. Now every second year we took them down to Esperance. The girls went one year, the boys went the next year. These are our boys just jumping off the Newtown jetty, broken down jetty. A lot of these boys hadn't seen the sea, so they're pretty good. That's our Mt Margaret ladies singing in the background. Now, what did the boys do in the end? Well, they got married. And this isn't one of our boys' weddings. This is Margaret Anderson. She married Desmond. That's Maureen, the bridesmaid, coming along in Donald's car. Mr. Jackson giving Margaret away. Desmond and Margaret coming out of the church. What kind of work do the boys do when they leave at the home? Well, they mainly do mustering jobs like this. Now this is the bits of film. From this on, it's the bits of film. These are all the bits that were cut out of that first film. That's Audrey Hurst, who was making there for a little bit. This is another little bit of getting the yard clean before we would go for our Saturday afternoon picnic. David Greenwood wheeling the barrow along, Heather and Lenny in the background. All the little boys playing with the dog. A little bit more of Margaret and Desmond. And that's Laurie Nelson, the best man there. This is Steve Earle mustering wild goats. Steve used to be a witch doctor and accepted Christ as his saviour. And gave away all the witch doctor business. Morris and Amy Brownlee in their home, we got them to stop and have a look at this tree because it was to their credit they grew it, because there's no water laid on and every drop of water had to be carted, even for those trees, and so it was wonderful that they were able to make them grow and make their home nice like they did. Amy Brownlee. This is Jennifer ran out to meet her there. It's Miriam and Jennifer. Miriam and Jennifer running to meet Daddy. That's little Cheryl, the baby. Jennifer looking at baby sister. That is Vincent Rowland's mission, with one of the little ones she looked after. This is the Bible school. At this point, Mr. Wolf Douglas was taking the Bible school. this is waiting for the governor to arrive, and the governor at that point was Sir Charles Gardner. That's the Warburton Range house there in the background. I think that's still there actually. And then there's the girls' home on the left in the background. Just for your historical records. This is the governor arriving. That was Keith saw on the left, right there. Keith Morgan. Keith there, talking to Sir Charles and Lady Gardner, and Reg Johnson presenting them with some wildflowers and a basket made in the craft room, and a text. Some of the crafts that our ladies were able to turn out. That's my sister Margaret holding Bruce. That's Mrs. Jackson, you can see, speaking to Lady Gardner. Just inside there a bit. That's inside the craft room. Lady Gardner looking at Amy Brownlee working on a text. It's Keith Morgan showing Sir Charles how the promise baskets go. It's just a brief glimpse then of a shopping basket that the ladies used to do. They used to make these nice shopping baskets with gumnuts on and flowers done in raffia on them. They're really nice. Brooches, all kinds of things that aren't seen in that picture. Then this is the group coming over to the boys' home and having a look at the boys' home. I'm just showing them how the boys keep their clothes. That's my son Gavin I'm holding there. And then this is Christmas. This year Father Christmas came in a wheelbarrow. And Father Christmas was Gladys Vincent this year. This is another film of Esperance. That's my father, Rod Shea. After leaving Mt Margaret, my parents, Rod and Marzie Schenk, retired to Esperance. And this is their home in Esperance. We got Mother to point out the name on the house, Elam, which means a place of rest. But really, they did not rest there. They just kept on working. And this is the boys down at Esperance. When we went down to Esperance, we stopped at the my parents' property there, which we all helped to do. That's Ernest Baker. That's Aubrey throwing bombs there in the background. Aubrey Lynch. Bernie Shaw, this big one here. Now these are the boys playing the St. James Harris there. Stan Elliott. John getting a dive from Aubrey and Sadie. Sadie was down there on holidays at the same time. This is a picnic at Pink Wave. And this is Dave and Neil and Les Harris, I think, clowning away in the front here. Aubrey holding Heather, Alan Bonney. This one with a Buddy Shaw, Andrew Watson, Malcolm Johnson, Neil Smith. That's Aubrey and Alan in the front there. And the skipper was Mr. Mackenzie. Every time we went down, we tried to get them a ride in the water lily. Les Harris in the front, Alan Bonney, Neil, Freddie MacArthur here on the left, Andrew Watson, Ernie, James Harris, Freddie I think, no I can't see, Aubrey Lynch here, behind Aubrey is Martin Watson, and this is Shepherd Smith. And then we went off and round to Picnic Cove, and on the way, this is Picnic Cove. That's been blasted away now, and it's historic. Herbert Smith, Buddy Shaw, Ernie Shaw, Aubrey Lynch, that's Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Jenny Leahy's mum, Lenny Gray, Alan Bonney's back view, and here we are coming in back to the jetty again. I don't know what happened here. Oh, it's the continuation of it's what we cut out from the other form, the Lenora Sports. Just don't know who this is. This is Ian Campbell here. He wins his race, I think. Oh, maybe they'll get him, fix him. Some of you girls, I can't recognise you all. These are our boys waiting for their next race. That's Brian Burns, who's a teacher, and Don Millens, who's a headmaster, Neil Smith, Freddie MacArthur, Bert Badger talking to Molly. Now, this is David Greenwood here. David winning his race. Snowy Barnes and Pearlie McIntyre. Now, Bert is on the right here. He really won this race, and Ernie came second. That's one of the Ashwin boys, I think. And this is Martin Watson coming up now. And this is Ross Wilson, I think. Yep. Now, although we had, this is Neil Smith coming here. Although we had red and gold for our colours, we really weren't on about land rights. That really was not what we were on about. What we were on about was equality, like this. Equality of opportunity, competing in school sports along with every other, all the white people. Just equality in opportunity, equality in education, equality in housing. Lenny Gray, this one. And equality in job opportunity. That was Ross Wilson, that one. That's Jack Williams, the tall guy there. John Gray Senior on the right, Cyril Barnes, Ernie Shaw, Buddy Shaw, Aubrey Lynch. No, I just don't know who. Don't know who this girl is. She's a pretty good runner though. I think she's the girl Steele. Might be wrong though. Now, Ernie's just got the edge on Bert in the long distance here. He's winning and Bert's coming second. Henry Patterson's there in front. Group of girls. I think that's Isabel Cable, that was Isabel Brand in the dress sitting there watching. Margaret Morgan, my sister, with May O'Brien. Molly. It's Molly again. Molly Cameron. Don't know who this little kid is. Now, what we wish for our Wongai people more than anything else is that, wait a minute, just let me see who this is. This is Leo Mackay, I think, is that they should win the race of life. While it's important to win these races down here and to have equal opportunity and in housing and education and job opportunity, while we feel those things are all important, what we wish for our people most of all is that they will win the race of life, and that when we get to glory and to that happy land, we'll see lots of our Wongai people there. We'll see the boys we looked after, the boys we loved and cared for. We'll see our Wongai people. That's what we wish for, that by and by, that's Beth Smith there winning. We'll meet you all there in glory. This is Martin Watson here. We just trust that you all finish the race. That you'll be like Paul, who's fought a good fight. I finished my course. Harriet stumbled there, that's Harriet in that, and this girl got a start on it. That's Lenny Graham. That's my sister Margaret on the right, Margaret Morgan, Margaret Shaw in the middle, and Isabel Brand on the right. This is Lenny Gray. Oh, hard lines, Lenny. That's Neil Smith at the back there waiting to come over. Here he comes now. Oh, hard lines. That's John Gray there. John Grange Senior, and Max's mum, Esther, right there, talking to Ernie. And here comes Neil Smith again. Good boy. This is Jack Williams. Martin Watson. And we just trust that as our boys and as our Wongai people come to the obstacles in life, the obstacles that can trip you, that you will just trust God and just jump over them like these boys are jumping over this stick. That as you go through life, you trust God as you come to the obstacles. This is Beth Smith, this one. Molly Cameron. Harriet Fraser, I think this one is. Yep, it's Harriet. Molly again. This is Harriet, I think. Yep, it's Harriet. Harriet Fraser. Now, after we were at Mt Margaret, we went down to the Margaret Mission training farm, my husband Stuart and I. We answered a need for home parents down there for the boys. And we knew there were other missionaries at Mt Margaret who could take over from us, so we went. That's Leo Mackay there. My husband Stuart is going to tell you about Wongai in a minute. I think that's Lenny, yes? And Beth Smith. Now here is Stuart.
After gaining his Longrenong Diploma of Agriculture in Victoria, Roderick Schenck Jr. came over to Esperance to start the work or start the farm in Esperance. There you see Roderick and his friend from Longerenong, also with his diploma of agriculture, John May. This is Roderick Schenk with his wife Ruth and their little son Philip. That is the first home that they had on the farm, a tin shed that they lived in while they did the work. There you see Roderick and John both discussing the type of soil. It's just pure sand. It needed a lot of trace elements, and they had to go out to work on farms around about to get sufficient to buy what was necessary. First tractor was an old Fordson, used to take anything up to half an hour to get it started. But it did a lot of hard work, and they were very grateful for even having a tractor that they could use to clear the land. Here we are half an hour later, and there you can see the tractor working, pulling railway irons welded together just to drag over the Banksia scrub and low-lying scrub, and this had to be burnt. There you can see two of the ploughs and a big pile of logs there. They're posts that were cut on our own property, paperbark posts, very strong. And there's Stan Elliott doing the cutting of the posts, and there are the boys coming out of the swamp with it. Now when a gift of a Sunder seeder came, the old tractor just wouldn't pull it, but the Massey Ferguson Trust Fund, they donated a brand new Massey Ferguson tractor for that work. Now the need was for a dormitory for the boys to live. The first two that came down lived in at Esperance, but Mr. Schenk came out to build that dormitory, and there at this point we came down as home parents, and there is Mr. Schenk Senior doing that building. And on this particular day he had help, because both Roderick and John stayed back from their outside jobs, and we all came out from Esperance to help, and as a working party, because walls had to be put up, and it was too much for Mr. Schenk. Now you can see them going up. There's Herbert Smith, one of the first boys to come down. He was helping build the premises. Here you see the finished product. And there is a view of West Beach with my wife and my son Gavin just walking down the road towards the beach. Lovely view. Now we had to build chimneys, and that was Ron Williams from Cundalee building, and there you see Alan Bonney and Everard Sims building a leach drain. Alan Bonney was the senior, and he was showing Everard what to do. Now schooling was 20 miles away, and our children had to go in for that, and also the boys went in part-time and two of them full-time. Stan Elliott and Ernie Shaw gained their junior certificate whilst they were in there, and that is Stan Elliott with his boat that he made for the woodworking. Now you can see the boys in their nice jumpers that were knitted by a friend over in Melbourne, as they were just being picked up from school, and they certainly look very nice. There you see a few of the boys. Unfortunately, they're just a little fast for me. But there is Everard Sims in a nice blazer that was made by a pensioner over in Melbourne that made shirts for the boys at Mt Margaret. She did all the blazers, and we got the pockets done professionally. That's Ron Williams from Cundalee, just in a lighter moment. And these are the first two, Alan Bonney and Herbert Smith, who came from Mt Margaret, and they came down as the first two students. And there you see Alan again. It's nice to meet up with them again. There's Ron Williams. As he went out to work, he was able to gain a motorbike, bought himself a motorbike, and this gave him wheels to get round and also get to work. And there you see West Beach scene again. Now at this point, this was my work was looking after the chickens right up to grown fowls, and we supplied the kitchen with eggs and also sold them in Esperance. And there you see Trevor Shaw with one of the hens. Roderick majored in pig husbandry, and there you see him, apart from the administration work, he was showing how to rear pigs. And there you see Herbert Smith with the Berkshire sow and the little ones. There's Everard Sims bringing up the first of the flock. Grew to quite large proportions. There you see Barry Thomas on Nevada, a horse that was given to the farm. Old racehorse. Now the next to arrive was Vern Williamson and Ruby Williamson from Ballarat, and they brought with them their beautiful red pole stud, and as a gift to the work. And there you see Cedric Jacobs milking one of the cows, and Vern was in charge of the dairy. There's Ulster, the runner-up to the grand champion of the Melbourne show. And this was just how we had to prepare the soil. It had to be, all the undergrowth had to be burnt before it was ploughed, left to fallow, then ploughed, then seeded, and then you expected the harvest. There you see Les Walker on the Massey Ferguson with Albert on the back. Les Walker showing how he can lift a bag of super on his shoulders and put it into the hopper. Albert Nutting waiting with the seed, ready to put it into the hopper, mix it with the super. The next part of the work, of course, once the crop was up, it had to be supered, and there you see Alan McGrath doing that work. Albert Nutting again, and there's one of the bushfires that we had in the Esperance area. This particular one just about burnt out Esperance. There you see Everard Sims from Warburton Rangers again, and in his blazer. Now down to the killing shed, and there Barry Thomas is butchering a carcass ready for the kitchen, and John May in the background. Ron Williams went out to work and on the Claydon's farm, and he helped with the sawing of the logs to build some of their sheds. There you see Albert Nutting, and he's doing a very necessary job, stump picking, doing it very well. And Cedric Jacobs was on laundry this particular day, helping my wife with the domestic side of the washing. Once again, Barry Thomas on Nevada. Flynn Narkle shaking out the super bags. Flynn is the uncle of the footballers. And there you see in the front paddock a beautiful stand of oats. The boys are just showing how deep it was. There's Alan Bonney, Roy Green and Everard Sims, and it's right up to their chest. showing the ears of the oats. In the adjoining paddock was barley. This is a beautiful crop of barley also. We only grew that for stock feed. We grew other things in the barley as well. Boys, they had a lot of fun. And this is a break in the work program, and my wife provided them with ginger beer, and they certainly had the time of their life in the hay. Back to work again. There you see Les Walker bringing up the hay ready for baling. On the right hand side is Everard Sims, Barry Thomas on the left, and Dave Gable. He's doing the putting in of the separator and also taking the bales over onto the stack. He certainly worked hard. He knew that he'd had a full day's work that day, and his arms were aching towards the end of the day, but he still kept smiling. There's Andrew Lawson as he's going down to the windmill to turn on the windmill. Now the next to arrive was Clem and Pam White, and Clem had building experience, and he was teaching the boys the various things that have to be done in building. He built the cottages there. The next to arrive were the Holloways, Mavis and John Holloway, and John took over the garden. And there you see John hoeing in the background with Les Walker in the foreground, vice versa now. Les doing some weeding for John. Provided the kitchen with much needed greens. Now sport played a very big part in the lives of the boys. It was a Sunday competition down there between 3 Esperance teams, but when we approached them, they graciously obliged by playing on a Saturday for us, and we had the benefit of playing every team in order as they had a bye, and it was good for the boys because they got to know all the farmers from the area around about, and these were their future employers. Played the game well, and we were Esperance in this particular case, playing Gibson. We had no plate for ourselves. Cricket also played a part, and there you see Herbert Smith and Rod Schenk playing the Gibson team, and Clem White is the umpire. Now, on another occasion, Alan, Bonnie and myself, we went round to look at some of the bays. There was a road running round from West Beach, and I believe it goes a long way further now, a very picturesque beach. There are the boys on the front porch waiting for the dinner gong. Oh, it is gone. They're off. They must be hungry. There you see them waiting for church, and they're going into Esperance. And Everard Sims at Police Boys athletic demonstration, he fell and broke his neck, and it was tragic, but he left a wonderful testimony for the Lord. And there you see the boys on the Gibson platform just waiting to go home, Rod shaking hands with them. They've done well. And here's the train arriving, Cedric Jacobs there in the foreground, Shepard Smith getting onto the train, Barry Thomas, Les and Dave Gable. Goodbye, boys. Now, as I come back to the mission as it used to be on the slide, I'll hand over to my wife Elizabeth, who has a better memory for the younger ones in particular that I fail to remember.
Now, this is the old school building here, where most of you went to school. And we also used this building here for a church. And this one here is the junior school room. This is the old girls' home. This was the boys' home. This house in the middle was the Warburton Range house, where the Warburton Range missionaries used to come and stop. Now, these buildings were all put up not by big government handouts, but by their sacrificial giving of Christian people all over Australia who sent money to help buy the materials to go and buy these buildings from old run-down mines and things. And my father erected them with the help of those early day Wongai, Bert Thomas, Willie Burton, Randy McIntyre, Peter Meredith, Mick Taylor, all those old timers. They helped to build all these buildings. And the Wongai men who helped in the building, they got paid from for the work that they did, and with the money they got from their pay for the work that they did, they built their own homes. These cottages here you can see on the hill, these ones, they were built by the men themselves, and they were their own homes, and they owned them. They bought the material and built them themselves. And then as well as that, they used to go prospecting and get gold, and that over there is the Five-Head Battery, where after they did their prospecting, they came and crushed their gold at the battery, the Five-Head Battery. That's not there now, so someone told me that it had been moved somewhere to Coolgardie or somewhere like that. Now this is one of the missionaries, the group of missionaries who were there when Stuart and I went back, when I went back as a missionary with my husband. That's the old girls' home you can see in the background. That's the bell that used to call you to school and to church and everywhere else. And this is Mr. Jackson. Mrs. Jackson's not in it. Amy O'Donoghue, Keith Morgan, Bruce Morgan, Brian Burns, Margaret Morgan, Esther Milnes, Don Milnes, Peter Milnes, May O'Brien, Stuart Miller, our little Heather, and myself. Now this is an old slide of the boys' home as it was when we went back there as a missionary, when I went back as a missionary with my husband. But we put it in because it's a memory for all the older ones who went through the home in the early days. That's what it was looked like when the early day people went through, and it was like that when we went over there. But then we're grateful to John Newnham, Mavis Leaney's husband. Remember Mavis Leaney? Well, she married John Newnham. Well, he came and he helped put on a veranda and on this side and on the other side, and another wing up this other end. And we're grateful for the help he gave us. Now this is the same building as you were looking at a minute ago. There was a veranda put on that side and a veranda on this side, and the other wing was up this end. And as I said, John Newnham gave his time and his labour freely without charge to help us do that. And this was our home that we used to live in. That was the missionary's house. That was a locker room behind there where the boys used to change for school. This was a view we had of the mission, across the mission. That was where my parents lived there, the superintendent's house. And this was the workrooms where the women used to go and work, and they were paid piecework for the arts and crafts that they did. And the arts and crafts they did were sold to the Christian public. This was the shop, and the veranda's out this way. And that's the factory. And if you read the book Drop in a Bucket and you read about King's Well, that was King's Well. I'm just giving all these facts for the sake of the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren who come on after our Mt Margaret people who are still living now. Now we planted a lawn in front of that house you saw back there. We planted this lawn in front of it and a garden and the pepper trees to make it a bit greener and nicer. And this is just a group of the boys enjoying sitting on the lawn. That is Martin Watson, Max Wright, Dave Gamel, John Gray, Fred Carey holding our Heather, Les Cameron, Andrew Watson, Shepherd Smith. This is just another one with some other boys. That's Ron Smith there, Alan Bonney. I just can't see who's who properly here. We'll just have to leave it. Martin Watson through there, I think. Shepherd. Lenny, I think. Andrew Watson. Just can't see who's who there. Now we're numbering all these group photos so that if any of you want to get some photos of yourselves and you want to group one, you can say which group you want. Group number 1, group number 2 or whatever, you know. Or if it's a person, say we want such and such a person. But if you would like photos made from these slides, we'd like you to send some money to cover them because we're just pensioners and can't afford to buy up for all of you. Now my husband's just been holding that number 1 there on a ruler. He's tired holding it now, so he's taking it away. Now I'll tell you the names of these people so that your descendants after you will know who you are. This is Les Harris, Ian Campbell, Herbert Smith, Buddy Shaw, Dave Gable, Paul Campbell, Bernie Elliott, Shepherd Smith, Ernie Shaw, Neil Smith, Ron Smith, Ken Smith, David Collins, John Gray, Freddie MacArthur, David Greenwood, Aubrey Lynch, Bobby Scott, James Harris, Ross Bilson, Raymond Watson, Lenny Gray, Ivan Davidson, Paul, Bert Badger. I think that's Stan in there behind there, Stan Elliott. Now I just don't know who this is. Leo, I think. Leo McKay, Charles Watson, Max Wright, Andrew Watson, Alan Bonney. That's Martin Watson at the back there. Morris, Les Cameron, Derek Greenwood. Now, I think that's right. I just can't remember Morris's second name, so I'm sorry about that. Now, half these children, a lot of these children we cared for really aren't here now, but they're children. These young people should have outlived us, but they haven't, a lot of them. And but if their children are living and their children see these photos and want them, well, they're welcome to write and get a copy. Now, Ron Bonney, this is Ron Bonney in the middle, he was our oldest boy, and Paul Campbell was our smallest boy, our baby boy, and then along came Derek Greenwood. Now this is Derek Greenwood, Paul Campbell, and along came Kenny Smith. And here is Aubrey Lynch with Derek Greenwood. Now this is one of all the brothers. This is Ian Campbell and Paul Campbell, Lenny Gray, John Gray, Andrew Watson, Raymond Watson, James Harris, Les Harris, Herbert Smith, Ron Smith, Ernie Shaw, Buddy Shaw, Trevor Shaw he ended up as, Martin Watson and Charles Watson, Shepherd Smith, Neil Smith, and Stan Elliott and Bernie Elliott.